John Frusciante is known to have played with a lot of different guitar effects, and I really like how he finds creative ways to incorporate guitar effects in his playing and how he adjusts his guitar playing to the effects that he is using. And one great example of this is the song Dani, California, where you could use approximately 7 to 9 effects in just that song. And in this video I'm going to go through all the effects in Dani, California based on live performances. And this part will be split up into 8 segments, and then I will end by doing a one-take demo of the whole song, like if it was a live performance, where I incorporate all these effects. The Strat that I used for this song is a vintage style Parchcaster with the Seymour Duncan SSL1 pickups. And as you all know, we're not completely sure that John actually used these pickups. But as far as I'm concerned, these sound quite good compared to the other set of pickups that I have. These pickups, the SSL1s, has a really thick tone that I think fits well for this song. The amplifier I use is a Marshall 2554, which is an old Silver Jubilee combo with an attenuator. When I first did the EQ, it sounded very good in the room, but it did not sound right when I did an actual recording of it. Therefore I did some post-processing EQ work. And because of this, you cannot really copy my settings here exactly. You need to find the right EQ based on your current environment. And you may notice that the amp is set up to be as clean as possible, and that is because the effects do not sound that good when I get the crunch from the amp. To solve this, I use this chorus pedal. And this chorus pedal is a recreation of the Boss CE1, which is the one that John used. And that one is discontinued, but this is a recreation of that pedal, and this pedal really deserves a video on its own, but I will leave a link in the description to this pedal for now. Apart from being a great chorus pedal, it also got this level knob, which is active all the time, and if you have it all the way down, you get no sound, and then as you increase the level, you increase the gain pretty much. And if you have it on the high mode, on the maximum level, you pretty much have a distortion pedal or distortion effect. So the goal is to set this somewhere where you get a clean tone when you play softly, but as you strum harder, you get more and more crunch. So something like that. I mean, compare that to, for instance, this. Yeah, so you pretty much set it where you like it pretty much, but the point is that this allows you to have the Boss pedal, the distortion pedal, DS2 maxed out without any crazy volume jumps, and this is crucial in order to get John's tone for this song. So this is a really important pedal. And now to the really fun part. This is the low pass filter sound. So it sounds like this. So how do you achieve this? Well, you use these two in conjunction with each other, and I guess I can remove this and explain this from the bottom up on how it works. So with the pedal on its own, it just sounds like this. So you don't get that wobble effect. And in order to get that effect, you need a low frequency oscillator, which is this LFO. So what you do is that you take the low frequency oscillator from one of these two, and we want this sawtooth pattern. So we take the LFO here, and then we put it into an attenuator in. And then we take the attenuator and from here and connect that to this port, which is the cutoff filter. So what happens pretty much is that this unit is controlling this knob, so it pretty much turns it like this in a certain way, and the speed in which you turn that knob is determined by this knob. So now it's really slow, and now it's really fast. So you need to find a speed that you like. And then the attenuator, this knob, determines how far you will turn that knob. So will you turn it like this, really far, or will you just do small turns like that? So, for example, if I put it all the way, you get a really strong effect. And if you put it in the middle, then you get nothing. And if you put it to left, it goes, yeah, the other way, negative. So that is what this unit is doing. And then the amount, the envelope amount responds to your picking. So you can use that so that when you strum harder, the cutoff filter opens up. So pretty much this knob responds to your strumming intensity. So if I turn it all the way down, you get this. The filter is more closed, but if I turn it up more, it opens up a little bit more when I do those hard hammer-ons. So a more dynamic effect. And just to illustrate the point, I turn it all the way down so you understand what happens. So you notice it goes really, really bright when I strum hard, but if I just play softly, so the harder I strum, the more this cutoff knob opens up. So something like that. And then smooth works the best, and then mix pretty high. So if mix is all the way down, you just get the dry, obviously, and if it's all the way up, you just get the effect. So I have it quite high. Here I use 2-pole. Is this a more subtle effect? You don't need to go in depth into that. Yeah. And the resonance, in order to get this effect, the resonance is really important. If you put it all the way down, it sounds like this. So it's not the effect you want, but here you get that more kind of wobbly or watery effect. And if you turn it even higher, it starts to self-oscillate. So obviously don't turn it up too high. But if you turn it up to something like that, you get a lot more brightness. Yeah. So pretty much you get a peak in the frequency spectrum where you have the cutoff. So I mean, I could go into depth about this later, but this is all you need to know for this song. So that's pretty much it for that effect. And as a side note, do you need to use the CP251 in order to get the sound? Well, it depends on how picky you are. The key with this one is that it's got an LFO out, and other pedals or other Mogulfogers got that as well. The Lowpass filter got an LFO out, as well as the 12-stage phaser. However, you don't have the attenuator effect, so pretty much if you use the phaser or the ring modulator, what you get is just the yellow cable. You don't get this part. So to demonstrate what kind of sound you get, if I connect this cable to the ring modulator, you will get something like this. So if you try it with a phaser, the amount is set a lot higher, so you get an effect like this. So I mean, I guess it's up to you if you think that's good enough or not, but to sum it up, you get the best control if you have the CP251, but I guess the ring modulator will do, or in the worst case, the phaser. I should also mention that the cutoff knob, you really want to fine-tune that one to where you feel like you get the right kind of sound, because just a little tweak makes a really large difference. So if you have it a little bit lower, you get a darker sound. But if you turn it up, you get more and more brighter sound. I should also add that you could use the microamp when doing the low-pass filter kind of effect. I didn't do that because I found that I wanted it to be more clean, but if you, for example, have the level knob on the chorus on a lower setting, you might find that the signal gets a little bit weak when you switch from playing like this to this, and then you could use the microamp for that part. If you want. And now we're on to the Boss DS2. So the settings I have here is really straightforward. Everything is maxed out, and Turbo 2 setting. And you get this really cool boomy kind of sound. And you also notice that I don't get a huge volume jump due to the chorus pedal, so. I think it is really crucial to have the level and the tone knob maxed out, and perhaps you could have the distortion a little bit lower to clean it up, but I really recommend having the tone very high. It really helps when you do the outro wah-wah pedal kind of thing as well. But just to give an example, this is what it would sound like. I generally have reverb all the time at very low settings for most songs, but for this song I really don't have it on for the verse part in order to get a more rhythmic effect. So I don't think that sounds as good with reverb. But I like to turn off on the reverb for other segments like the chorus and the solo, and yeah, you see in the demo. And I still have it quite low on spring. And John didn't really use this version of the pedal, he used a more vintage version, but yeah. And now we're onto the MuRF pedal, and this effect is really cool, a really cool way to make your sound more interesting. So this is used for this. So this is a MIDI version. John had one that was called just the MuRF, and then one that was called the bass MuRF. But this has both of them with this switch. So when it's set to the mids here, it is the MuRF, and if you switch it to the bass here, it's the bass MuRF. But I use it on the mids section. Some settings are more important than others, and the most important I think are the envelope. So you want it somewhere in the middle, because if you have it somewhere here, you get this kind of sound. But you want smooth transitions. So something like that. And you want the rate somewhere like that. You don't want like a crazy. And you don't want it super slow as well. But something like that. And when it comes to the pattern, I'm really not sure what John used. I just used a pattern that I liked, and the pattern is basically how you go through these filters. So if you listen, you hear each step there quite clearly, and the pattern here determines how we go through these, in what kind of segment you do that. And this is the volume of each segment. So if I put all these all the way down, you get no effect at all. And there I just heard that one and a little bit of that one. So here you can put emphasis on more frequency bands than others. And I'm definitely not sure of these settings as well. So use these and these to create your own kind of flavor to it. And the mix I just assume is quite high at 8. But the most important are this one, and perhaps this one, and then you use the pattern and these ones to add your own flavor to it. And I just want to show comparison with and without it, because I think it really adds a lot to the sound, that effect pedal. And now we will move on to the wah-wah pedal, and I'm really tired of this reissue one. I have gone through a couple of these, and now I have moved on to the Wilson Effect 10 Spot 2, and I'm really happy with this one. It's really built really well, and it feels like it will last for a long time. And what I want to address in this segment is that you can, and John sometimes did use this in the verse instead of the low-pass filter, so you get something like this. Yeah, I just wanted to address that you can do that as well, and it might be a cheaper solution as well than getting a low-pass filter effect. Perhaps I should explain what the knobs are. So it's pretty much like this one. It got the bass and mids switch, and then here you can adjust the sweep or how large of a wah-wah effect you want, and I have it maxed out. And this is actually a volume knob, but you don't really need that when you have a compressed signal thanks to the chorus ensemble. And then we got the solo. So for the most part, you use the Boss DS2. But you can see in some live performances, like at Fuzz Studios, he in the middle of the solo kicks in the Fuzzrite, and this is a clone of the Fuzzrite made by Will Galluccio, which also made the chorus pedal, and I will leave a link to that in the description as well. And this one adds a really cool flavor to the solo. When it comes to settings on this one, I'm not completely sure. In the live demo that I'm about to do, I maxed it out, but here I have it, the volume and the depth not maxed out completely, and perhaps that cleans the signal up a little bit and makes it more clear. So I guess you could decide what you like best, but the point is just to show that John sometimes used a Fuzzrite pedal. But I end this segment by comparing the two settings. And then finally, for the outro wah-wah kind of bit, it's really nice to have the Fuzzrite clone kicked in as well, because you get a really cool sweep. So here's a comparison. This one really adds a lot, and I should also mention that it's cool to have the reverb kicked in for the solo as well. You pretty much start the solo with these two and the reverb, and you end with these two, the Fuzzrite, the wah-wah pedal, and the reverb.